Hello, welcome to the second video. We are going to do a little quick review of graphing. Super easy. I'm sure everybody remembers this. Most important thing, y equals f of x. Synonymous, okay? So, okay. Alright, to graph a straight line, all you need are 2 points. You can, of course, always have more. There's nothing wrong with that. But so if I have f of x is equal to x plus 1, and remember your Cartesian coordinate system. Okay, your x-axis down here works just like the number line. Your positive values are here, going all the way to positive infinity. Negative numbers are down here, going towards negative infinity. Zero's in the middle. Your y-axis, your positive values go up. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Negative numbers are down. You get the picture. Okay, remember that every dot on here has an address. And that address is called an ordered pair. And it's given alphabetically. The x value first and then the y. These parentheses have no mathematical significance. It just shows that those two come from the same point as each other. Okay? So, in the middle, you guys already know all this. In the middle is called the origin. And that's where the two zeros are, where the two axes intersect. It's called the origin because when you plot a point, that's where you originate. Okay? So if I were going to plot the point 3, 2, I would start here, then I would go 3 in the positive x direction, and then 2 in the positive y direction. Okay? So that's all. Now, to graph a simple function like this, okay, you just need to find two values. First off, there are no restrictions on my domain. I don't have any division by zero potential. It's not a square root. So I can stick any number where I want in for x, do the arithmetic, and get his y buddy. Why would you use a hard number? I use 0 and 1. I mean, that's just easy. You can use any numbers that you want, though. And students have a hard time with that because usually, I don't know, math seems like it shouldn't be so liberal, right? You shouldn't be able to just grab a number and stick it in there. But you can. But why would you use 70? You're going to have a really big graph or really small little hash things. Why would you do that? Let's just use easy numbers. So f of 0 is 0 plus 1, or 1. So that means the ordered pair, 0, and then what the whole thing equals, that means that's a point on this line's graph. F of 1 will be 1 plus 1. No, just put the 1 in for the x. That equals 2. That means when x is 1, y is 2. Okay? So, easy enough. You got your y-axis, you got your x-axis. You don't need to put a million different hash things. You only have a couple of numbers here. So 1, 1, 2. Okay, so 0, 1, that's 0 in the x direction, 1 in the y. 1, 2 from the origin is 1 in the x direction, positive 2 in the y direction. Just go right through those two dots, and there's the graph of the line. Now you might remember a line is y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. That's our main focus in calculus. Okay. B is called the y-intercept, because that's where this line crosses your y-axis. Notice that anywhere on the y-axis, no matter how your line's going, anything that crosses the y-axis, the x value is 0, because you're not moving to the left or right if you're on the y-axis. We have x-intercepts. An x-intercept is where the y is equal to 0 and the whole function is 0. But we don't have to deal with that now, okay? So it really is simple. Pick a couple arbitrary, that just means random, pick a random point, put it in, do the arithmetic, and get the y buddy for that point. Do that twice, you can graph your line. Okay. Now, you might remember from algebra, graphing using the slope. Okay, so suppose I have this. It's just as easy to plot 2 points as it is to use the slope to get a second point. It doesn't really matter. But if I take a look at this, if x is 0, that term is equal to 0. So when x is 0, the whole thing equals -1. That means 0, -1 is a point on my line. So 0 in the x direction, -1 in the y. Again, that's your y-intercept. So you don't even need to do that part. Just whatever numbers here that doesn't have a variable attached to it, that's where it crosses your y-axis. Now, to get a second point, I could use f of 1. Okay, so we have f of 0 is equal to -1. F of 1, 2 times 1 is 2, minus 1 is 1. So 1, 1 is another point on that line. If you were using the slope, which is a +2, from your y-intercept, if you go up 2 over 1, it's a point on the line. And you can keep doing that. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And it's going to continue to give you points on that line. Okay? So from this one, 0, -1, and 1, 1. Or you can use the slope if you're comfortable using that. If you're not, don't use it. It doesn't make any difference. Okay, notice that this is a positive slope and my line goes uphill from left to right. If I do a function that has a negative slope, where that m is negative, it's going to be the opposite direction. Okay, so let's just do the 2 points, okay? Just stick a 0 in there. It's going to be +1, okay? So that means 0, 1 is a point on my line. So 0, 1. If I were using the slope, it'd be down 3 over 1, down 3 over 1. But I'm just going to do f of 1. 0, 1, the easiest numbers ever, right? So -3 times 1 is -3 plus 1 is -2. So that tells me 1, -2 is a point on this line. So 1, -2. Just connect them. But you see how it's going downhill from left to right? That's because of the negative slope. It's really easy to transpose your x's and y's, and if you do that, it'll be going the wrong direction. So it's worth taking a nanosecond just to make sure that a negative slope is going downhill from left to right. Positive slope problems go up. I think of it like if you saw a graph of what goes on with the stock market. When stocks go up, that's a positive territory. When they go down, it's negative territory. That's what they always say on news and in papers and stuff. Okay. Now, when you're graphing something bulkier than a straight line, you need more than just 2 points. Again, you can do whatever you want. Usually, it's a minimum of 3 if it's got some x to the second power, x to the third power, fourth power. I do a positive, a negative, and 0. So if you have, say you have f of x equals x squared. So remember, x squared, that's going to be a parabola, either a u or an upside down u. So this one, I would find f of 1, f of 0, and f of -1. And then sketch it and see if that gives me enough information to graph it. So this is 1 squared, this is 0 squared. Remember, when you insert a negative value in for a variable, put parentheses around it. Okay, so 1 squared is 1, 0 squared is 0, -1 squared is +1. -1 times -1. Okay, so this tells me 1, 1 is on the graph, 0, 0, and -1, 1 is on the graph. There's the bug. We're in my bedroom, by the way. Okay. Okay, so starting from the origin, Positive 1 in the x, positive 1 in the y. 0, 0, that is the origin. And then negative 1 in the x, positive 1 in the y. And that can give me a sketch of what my graph is going to do. Okay? Now, the next video that we're going to be doing is just going to be on parabolas, because really this isn't quite enough information to let me know how fast does it spread. Is it more narrow? Is it wider? Okay? But they're easy to do. So don't be shy about sketching a picture on, like in the margin of a test or something like that. And I realize this is the last math class, unless maybe you didn't take stats yet, which is math light. But this is kind of the end of your math world unless you go to grad school. If you do go to grad school, you have to take an exam to get into grad school. And, you know, they're multiple choice. That's sometimes the best bet, is to just sketch a really little graph and then you could pick out the answer. So, anyway, even some of this simple stuff with math it's worth knowing and help you out in the future. Okay, so I'm going to be done for today. I'm going to post these because it takes forever. And then we will take it from there. I put in the announcement that I sent to you, and I think also in the syllabus, that the workshop to use Canvas, which remember that's replacing Blackboard or CourseWeb, the workshop on how to do the live communications isn't until the afternoon of the first day of our classes. So rather than to set up Zoom and all that stuff, because I haven't used it, so I haven't needed to yet, but I'm going to wait until I do that workshop, and then I'm going to see which is the most user-friendly for everybody. But it is probably worth learning, because that's going to be our new thing, and especially in the fall, things are still up in the air. I don't know, the virus is starting to spread again, so, you know, I don't know anything that you guys don't know, but I could see us going virtual. This is my personal opinion. I don't want it so bad. I miss my students. Anyway, my cell phone is on the syllabus, and you can call me or text me. If you text me, just tell me who you are, okay? Because, you know, I have lots of students, so. But this is my only summer class, so, you know, if you say, hey, this is Will, I probably will know who you are, especially if you ask me a question about Business Calc. Anyway, okay. More later. Take care.